Now we have, in my opinion, the only reason he does it is to impress his neighbor Anna. She is very attractive and I know he secretly likes her. Since she loves animals so much, he thinks this could be a good way to impress her. Poor thing. Okay, so in my opinion, we have en mi opinión. All we have to do is an accent over the O. So en mi opinión. Now the only reason, what you hear a lot is motivo, the only motive. You hear that a lot, they use it a lot. So we have el único motivo. Okay, el único motivo. Why he does it, we have to be very careful here. So normally we have why simply as that, right? ¿Por qué? But when you include something like this, el único motivo, what you do is you take the el from here and you put it in between the por and the que. This is how it sounds most natural in Spanish. En mi opinión, el único motivo por el que. Now I know that doesn't make any sense in a direct English translation, but I assure you this is absolutely correct in Spanish. If we were to change this to razón, so instead of motive we said razón, so it'd be la única razón this would now change to la, so the la would come in between here. So en mi opinión, la única razón por la que, for why. But we'll revert back to what we had just so it will match up with the text file. So el único motivo por el que he does it. Remember, we have to include our it here, so lo hace is to impress his neighbor, es para impresionar a su vecina, vecina because we're referring to Anna. If it was Pedro, we'd say vecino. So impresionar a su vecina Ana. See how tricky that was. So we have, en mi opinión, el único motivo por el que lo hace. Doesn't that sound strange? But once again, the reason that we're putting the el in between, we're not just having por qué, is because we're starting out with this. So anytime you say the motive why or the reason why, you're going to throw in the el or the la in between this por qué. And in order for it to sound correct, if you did not do that, you would still be understood, but it would sound kind of like you were uneducated, like kind of caveman Spanish. And probably I'll do a dedicated lesson on this just to make it absolutely clear, because there are a lot of instances in everyday conversation where you're talking about the reason why or the motive why. So it's important that you get used to putting in the el or the la in between the por qué. So let's continue on in any case. We have, she is very attractive. Now, we're not saying that she's attractive today or normally ugly, right? What we're saying is something about her identity, that she's perceived in general as attractive. So we'll make it explicit and we'll say, ella es. This is on the side of ser, right? So ella es muy atractiva. Ending in a, because we're referring to ella. So ella es muy atractiva. And I know, hice, or sí, hice, que he secretly likes her. For this phrase, we're going to say something very typical in Spanish to make it flow nicely. And actually, I feel like I want to put yo sé to emphasize that, hey, this is something that I'm really positive about. Yo sé, I know that he secretly likes her. So it would be a Emilio, to Emilio, le gusta, right? So meaning that to him she is pleasing. This is to him she is pleasing. Le gusta. We're not saying cae bien because we are now talking that he has kind of a sexual attraction to her. So therefore we use the verb gustar. So yo sé que a Emilio le gusta secretly would be en secreto. Like this. This is quite a hard sentence. It goes on with since she loves animals so much. For since, what you can say is considering that she loves animals so much. If we don't have a word for since, we can always find a way around it. So we have considerando que she loves animals so much. Notice here that we put yo sé que a Emilio, to him she is pleasing. We're going to repeat this formula once again. So, considerando que a ella, to her, and because it's love, we won't say like, we'll say encantan, from encantar, right? So what this is really saying is to her, they are kind of endearing, something like that. Los animales, tanto, for so much would be tanto. So we have considerando que a ella le encantan los animales tanto. He thinks, we'll make it explicit again, él piensa. Once again, the que is implied. This could be a good way. So we're going to have esto for this because it's just general. We're not referring to any specific noun. Esto could, podría ser, could be a good way. So una manera buena to impress her, impresionarla. Una buena manera. What you're going to put there is de impresionarla. And then poor thing would be pobrecito. Pobre is poor. Let's put that in. And then poor little thing, pobrecito. Put out exclamation mark there. So now this is pretty tough paragraph to get over. We have, en mi opinión, el único motivo por el que lo hace. Por el que, remember, this is standing for why. Por el que. For why he does it. So make sure that you separate those two because it can be very confusing to have por el que lo. I mean, what the hell does that mean, right? It only makes sense if you separate it. So por el que means why, and lo hace means he does it. The reason that we have por el que and not just por qué is because we started with el único motivo. So when you start with the only motive or the only reason, you're going to throw in the el or the la in between the por qué. That's just the way it is in Spanish if you want to sound kind of educated and make it sound natural. So continuing, es para impresionar a su vecina. Here we have the personal a, and instead of vecino, we have vecina because we are referring to Ana. Now from here on, we start to make things quite explicit because we want to make sure that the story has clarity. So we're saying ella, she is very attractive, and we're using ser because we want to say that this is how she is, part of her identity. She's attractive, right? Ella es muy atractiva. And Yo sé. Here we're emphasizing that I know for a fact. Yo sé que a Emilio. Here we are making it explicit that we're talking about Emilio. To him, he likes, like to him, she is pleasing. Okay, and we're using gustar because we're in rather than cae bien, because whenever you use gustar talking about liking people, it's always understood that you mean that you like them in a sexual way. And then secretly, en secreto. So again, there's a lot of things that can catch you out there. Then we had, instead of since, we switched over to considering that. So considerando que a ella, to her, again, we're making it explicit. To her, they are fascinating, or it's hard to put a translation on that. That they are fascinating. Animals are fascinating to her, and that she has kind of an infatuation. Like to her, they are infatuating animals. Again, doesn't sound very good in English either. This is always tough when you get the reflexives to do a direct translation into English. Tanto would be so much. So the sentence is, considerando que a ella le encantan los animales tanto. Part of me wanted to throw in the personal a there, but it's probably not right to do so because we're not talking about a pet, right? We're just talking about animals, so they don't get a personal a. Then we have again explicit, él piensa, he thinks that this could be, podría ser, a good way, una manera buena, and this phrase is followed by de, even though it doesn't make any sense in a direct English translation. Just look at it as a phrase, una manera buena de, a good way of whatever, a good way of impressing her, impresionarlo, I should say, for her. And then we have pobrecito. So really quite tough.